I am 77 years old, and my 2 children are both alive and both far away. Not far in miles. My son lives an hour from here. But the distance was never measured in miles. For a long time, I told myself they were simply busy, the way the young are always busy. That was the gentle lie I lived on. Tonight, at last, I am going to tell you the truth. Why do adult children pull away from the very parents who love them most in this world? I asked that question into a quiet house for years, and I blamed everyone but myself. I blamed their phones. I blamed their spouses. I blamed the cold way the world raises them now. And every one of those answers let me off the hook, and not one of them was the whole truth. So tonight I am going to name 6 reasons that almost nobody ever says out loud. 6 reasons a grown child goes quiet,
I never told you how much
including
that
the
meant to
ones
me.
that were my own doing. This is not a video about ungrateful children. I will not let you blame them or yourself. It is about the small, invisible things that push a child to the far side of the room. And after each reason, I will show you the bridge, the quiet way back across the water. So pour yourself something warm and sit with an old woman while the evening comes down. If there is a phone in your house that has gone too quiet, then I am speaking to you. First, let me tell you who is talking, so you know these words were paid for in full. I am not a doctor. I am not an expert. I never wrote a book or stood on a stage. I am a woman who married at 21, raised 2 children, and buried a good man. I worked in a fabric shop for 30 years, and my fingers still know the feel of good cloth. My knees ache when the rain comes in, and I take my porch steps slow now, one at a time. I have been a bride, a mother, a widow, and lately a stranger in my own quiet kitchen. So I am not speaking down to you from some high and shining place. I am right beside you. My son is called Michael. He is 46 now, though in my heart he is always small. My daughter is Ellen, 2 years younger, with her father's laugh and my own worrying hands. When they were little, our house was so loud, I used to pray for 5 minutes of quiet. I have had all the quiet I could ever want now, and I would trade it back in a heartbeat. Nobody tells you that the noise you long to escape is the very thing you will miss the most. Michael and I were close once, close the way a mother and a son are before the world gets in. He used to follow me round the kitchen, asking why the sky was blue and where the rain goes. I remember thinking those days would last forever, the small, warm, ordinary days of it. Then he grew up the way they must, and somewhere in there I lost the thread of him. It did not happen all at once. It came the way rust comes, slow and quiet and sure. First the calls got shorter, then they got fewer. Then I was the only one who called at all. Fine, Mom. Busy, Mom. Can I call you back, Mom? A whole bond in a few tired little words. and I kept telling myself a story where none of it was anything that I had done. Here is the illusion I carried, wrapped up tight for the better part of 40 years. I believed that loving my children was the same thing as being good at loving them. I believed that because my heart was so full, the way I showed it must surely be right. It took me a long and lonely time to learn that love and the language of love are two things. You can love a child with your whole soul and still speak to them in a tongue that wounds. That was the first hard truth, and it cost me years that I am not going to get back. So I stopped waiting for them to explain themselves, and I started asking what I had done. And the answers came, one by one, in the long evenings when the house was very still. I wrote them down at this table, in a hand that shakes a little more than it used to. 6 reasons. 6 quiet doors I had helped to close, without ever once meaning to. I am going to give them to you plainly, the way I wish someone had given them to me. Take the ones that fit your life, my dear, and leave the rest right here with me. Because somewhere out there, a child of yours may be waiting for one of these doors to open. The first reason a grown child pulls away is the one I understand best, because it was mine. We never let them grow up. We keep parenting a person who has not needed parenting in years. When Michael was small, my job was to correct him, to steer him, to keep him from the stove. And nobody ever told me that job has an ending, a day you are meant to set the wheel down. So I kept steering long after he had a wheel of his own and 2 good hands to work it. He would tell me about his job, and I would tell him what he ought to do differently. He would mention a plan, and I would find the hole in it before he finished the sentence. I thought I was helping. I thought a good mother never stops looking out for her boy. But a grown man does not hear help. He hears that his mother still thinks he cannot manage. Every piece of advice he did not ask for said one thing underneath. It said, "I do not trust you." And a person slowly backs away from anyone who makes them feel small in their own life. I remember the day I understood it. He had fixed a leaking pipe at his house and was proud. He told me about it on the phone, and I asked if he had called a real plumber to be sure. There was a silence on the line, and then a small, tired, "Never mind, Mom. It doesn't matter." I had taken his one moment of pride and quietly handed it back to him as a worry. Here is the bridge across this one, and it is simpler than you would ever think. Ask, do not tell. Say, "That sounds hard. How did you handle it?" And then be quiet. Let your grown child be the expert on their own life, even when your hands itch to fix it. The day I stopped correcting my son was the day he started telling me things again. The second reason is quieter, and it hides inside words that sound a great deal like caring. We attach a small hook to our love, a little barb of judgment, and they feel it every time. It is the sigh when they say how they voted, the look when they pour a second glass of wine. It is, "You've put on a little weight, dear," said while you are hugging them at the door. Each one is small. Each one feels like the truth to us. To them it is a paper cut that never heals. My Elam dyed her hair a deep red one year, the color of a good maple tree in October. And the first thing out of my mouth was not, "You look lovely." It was, "Oh, what did you do?" I watched her face close like a window when the cold comes, and I did not understand why. I thought I had a right to my opinion. She had asked me nothing, and I gave it to her anyway. A child does not pull away because you disagree with them. They pull away to stop the bleeding. When every visit costs a little piece of skin, they learn to visit less. It is that simple. I had made my love into a place where they had to brace themselves before they walked in. Here is the bridge, and it asks something hard of an old, proud woman like me. Keep the opinion behind your teeth unless your child reaches out a hand and asks for it. Your grown children already know how you feel about the wine and the hair and the rest. What they do not know, because we forget to say it, is that they are a delight to us. So say that instead. Say, "It is so good to see your face." Let that be the first thing and the last. The third reason is the hardest for me to say, because it grew straight out of my own pain. When you are widowed and the house goes silent, your children can become your whole world. And a whole world is a very heavy thing to lay on the shoulders of one busy young person. After their father died, I called Michael every single day, sometimes twice, just for a voice. I did not call with news. I called with my loneliness, and I set it down in his lap. I would say, "I suppose you are too busy for your old mother," and I would hear him flinch. That little sentence was a hook baited with guilt, and I threw it more than I care to admit. I turned every missed call into a wound, and every wound into a debt he had to pay me back. And love that is paid as a debt stops feeling like love. It starts to feel like a bill. So he did the thing people do when the bill keeps coming. He started avoiding the mailbox. I did not mean to make my son the keeper of my happiness, but that is the weight he felt. No child can carry a parent's whole loneliness. It is not theirs to carry, and it never was. Here is the bridge, and it saved far more than my son. It saved my own long, empty days. Build a life with more than one room in it, so no single person holds up your whole roof. I joined a Tuesday quilting group at the church, only to get myself out of the house. I found a widow named Josephine who laughs like a drainpipe, and slowly my world grew wider. And the strangest thing happened. The less I needed Michael to save me, the more he called. When I stopped handing him my loneliness, he was free at last to hand me his own joy. The fourth reason lives in the past, in the old hurts we would rather forget than face. Every family has them. A cruel word in a hard year, a birthday missed, a time we were not there. And the parent's instinct, my own instinct, is to let the past be the past and move along. But a wound does not close just because the one who made it decides to stop looking at it. My Ellen carried something for 30 years, and I told myself she had surely let it go. When she was 16, she came to me frightened about something, and I was tired and sharp. I said, "Not now, Ellen. I have enough on my plate." And I turned back to the stove. I forgot it by supper. She carried it into her 40s, the memory of a shut door. And when she finally found the courage to tell me, my first move was to defend myself. I said, "Oh, that was so long ago. I am sure it was not as bad as all that." And she went cold. Because a wound met with a defense is a wound torn open a second time. I had done it again. What a grown child needs is not our explanation. It is our sorrow, plain and without excuse. Here is the bridge, and it is only 4 words long, but they are the hardest 4 to say. I am so sorry. Not, I am sorry you feel that way. Not, I am sorry, but just, I am so sorry. When I finally said those words to Ellen and stopped there, I watched 30 years drain away. She cried, and I cried, and neither of us tried to fix it or explain it. We let it be true. An apology with no excuse tied to its tail is the strongest bridge a parent can ever build. The 5th reason walks in the door on the arm of the person your child has chosen to love. When our children marry or partner or build a life we would not have built, we are tested. And too many of us, myself among them, quietly fail that test for years without knowing it. I did not care for the woman Michael married. Her name is Paula, and she is nothing like me. She is quiet where I am loud, careful with money where I was free, and slow to warm up. And instead of learning her, I judged her, and my son felt every ounce of that judgment. I made small remarks. I compared her to girls he used to date. I sighed at her cooking. I thought I was protecting him. I was really telling him his own choice was a mistake. And when you insult the life a person has built, you insult the person who built it. He did not have to choose between his mother and his wife, but I kept forcing the choice. So he chose his home the way a grown man should, and I was left outside of it, alone. A child will always, in the end, protect the family they are making from the family they left. Here is the bridge, and it meant swallowing a good deal of my own stubborn pride. I decided to find one thing to love in Paula, and then to say it to her, out loud. I told her the quilt she made for little Rosie was the finest stitching I had seen in years. It was true, and it was the first kind thing I had ever handed her. And her eyes filled up. When you bless the family your child has built, you are invited back inside its walls. The 6th reason nobody talks about is the one that kept me stuck for the very longest. It is pride, plain and cold, and it wears the disguise of fairness and of being owed. I kept a scoreboard in my chest of who called whom and who reached out the last time. I would think, well, I called him last, so now it is his turn, and I would wait him out. Weeks would pass, and I would sit on my hands, nursing the grievance of being the one who tries. My silence was not peace. It was a punishment I was handing out, and calling it my dignity. Both of us were waiting for the other one to cross first, and so no one crossed at all. And the years we lost to that standoff are years no scoreboard will ever pay me back. Pride tells you that the one who reaches out first has somehow lost. That is a lie, my dear. The one who reaches out first is simply the one who loves more than they fear. That is all it is. Here is the bridge, and it is the shortest walk and the longest one at the very same time. Pick up the phone, even when it is not your turn, especially when it is not your turn. Be the one who breaks the silence, not because you were wrong, but because you were lonely. I called Michael on an ordinary Tuesday, with no reason and no scoreboard, just to say hello. My voice shook, and I said, "I have missed the sound of you, son." That was the whole speech. And after a pause I will remember all my life, he said, "I've missed you too, Mom. Come for supper."
Now let me come down off the list and sit with you in the real moments, the ones that are hard. Because it is one thing to name 6 reasons, and another to be holding a silent phone tonight. So let me give you the small, plain things I have learned from this kitchen and this porch. The first is about the phone call itself, the very one that you are afraid to make. You do not need a reason to call your child. A reason makes it a transaction. Call for none. Do not open with, "Why haven't you called?" for those words shut the door before it opens. Open with, "I was just thinking of you, and I wanted to hear your voice." Then let them talk. And when they talk, do not fix, do not advise. Just say, "Tell me more," and truly mean it. The most healing 4 words I know are not, "I love you." They are, "Tell me about it." The second thing is about the visit, the supper where everyone quietly braces themselves. Decide, before they arrive, that you will not remark on the weight, the wine, or the choices. Make your home the one place on earth where your grown child never has to defend a thing. If you can be the soft place they land, they will come back to that softness again and again. I will tell you about the first supper at Michael's house after the long silence broke. My hands shook as I stood on his step, holding a pie, not knowing if I was welcome inside. Paula opened the door, and there was a moment when neither of us knew what our faces should do. And I did the one thing I had promised myself. I said, "Thank you so much for having me." I did not fix the coffee that was too weak. I did not mention the toys across the floor. I sat where they put me, and I let it be their house, their rules, their life. It was enough. The third thing is about the grandchildren, if you are lucky enough to have them near. Never use a grandchild
as a rope to pull a distant child closer. They feel it and resent it. Love the little ones for themselves, freely, and the bridge to their parents builds on its own.
My Rosie is 7 now, and she calls me Nana, and she knows nothing of the lost years. She only knows that Nana keeps peppermints in the blue dish and always has time for her. And through that one little girl, her father and I found a road back we could not find alone. The fourth thing is about learning their world, even when it feels too fast and too strange. Michael showed me how to send a little message on my telephone with my slow and clumsy thumbs. Now I send Ellen a good morning most days, just a line, and she sends a small heart back to me. It is not the long talks we once had, but it is a thread, and a thread can hold a great deal. Do not wait for the grand reunion. Send the small thread. Small and often beats grand and rare. The fifth thing is about the letter. For some things are too heavy to say down a phone line. If there is an apology stuck in your throat, an old wound between you, try setting it on paper. Write it by hand. Say the sorry with no excuse. Do not demand a reply. Just send it and wait. I wrote such a letter to Ellen, and she keeps it in her Bible to this very day, she told me. The sixth thing is the hardest of all, and it is about the child not ready to come back yet. Some doors do not open on our schedule. Some children need more time than we have patience for. If that is you tonight, then hear me. Reaching out is still worth it, even when no one reaches back. Send the birthday card into the silence. Leave the loving message with no hook and no guilt. You are not begging. You are keeping a light in the window so they can find their way if they turn. And you are becoming the parent they can come home to whenever they are finally ready to come. Now here is the part I most want you to hear, whatever your age, as you sit and listen to me. If you are 40 and your mother's calls wear on you, this is what I would tell my younger self. One day that phone will not ring, and the silence you wished for will be the loudest thing you own. Call her back. Let her tell the story you have heard 9 times. It is not the story she wants. It is the sound of you, the proof that you are still hers a little while longer. Give her that. And there is one more thing, about the day your grown child turns and criticizes you. It will come. They will name a way you failed them, and every part of you will want to defend. Do not. Take a breath and say, "Thank you for telling me. I will sit with that." And then sit with it. The parent who can hear a hard truth without crumbling is a parent a child can stay close to. And if you are the older one, like me, worn down by pride and habit and the fear of being a bother, it is not too late for you either. The bridge is old and weathered, but it still holds the weight. I have walked back across it myself, in these very slippers, and I am here to tell you, it holds. Now let me tell you why all of this is true, why these 6 doors work the way that they do. It is not complicated. It is only human, as old as parents and children have ever been.
A child spends the first half of life trying to become their own person, apart from us. That is not rejection. That is the whole job of growing up. And we did it to our own parents. Our task, the last hard task of parenting, is to let them be separate and love them anyway. The pulling away is often not a door slammed. It is a child protecting a self still forming. And most of what pushes them out is not our cruelty. It is our fear, wearing the mask of love. We are afraid of being forgotten, so we cling. We are afraid of being wrong, so we correct. We are afraid of the silence, so we fill it with advice, with guilt, with the old scoreboard. Name the fear beneath your habit, and you can set the habit down. That is the whole secret of it.
Time is the other thing, and time does not wait for us to be ready to make it right. I learned that in the hardest way there is, on the morning my sister died, with words unsaid. We had quarreled over something so small that I cannot even now recall what it was about, and I always thought there would be time to fix it, the way you think the sun will rise. There was not. The phone rang early, and the chance was gone, folded up and put away for good. I will not let that happen between me and my children, and I do not want it to happen to you. So let me tell you how the story I began with finally came to rest on that ordinary Tuesday. I told you I called Michael for no reason, and he said, "I've missed you too. Come for supper." What I did not tell you is what happened when I walked into that house after so long away. Rosie did not know me well yet, and she hid behind her mother's leg and studied my face. And then Michael knelt down beside her and said, "Rosie, this is my mom. This is your Nana." And something in the way he said, "my mom," warm and unguarded, undid 40 years of my worry. My boy was still in there. He had been there the whole time, on the far side of my own pride. We did not speak of the lost years at that supper. We did not need to. We simply began again. That is the thing about a bridge. You do not have to explain the river to walk back across it. You only have to take the first step, and then the next, and let the old wood carry you over. So here is the one small thing I am asking you to do tonight, before you go to sleep. Think of the child or the parent on the far side of your own quiet stretch of water, and send them one thread, a message, a card, a call that opens with, "I was thinking of you." No score, no hook, no lecture waiting behind it. Just a hand held out across the distance. You may not get an answer tonight, or this week, or even this whole year. Send it anyway, because the light you leave in the window is never wasted, even on the nights no one comes home. And you will lie down, knowing you were the one who loved more than you feared. That is everything. I am 77 years old, and I lost years I cannot buy back to my own stubborn pride. But I got some of them back, and the getting back was worth every ounce of the swallowed pride. My phone is not always busy now, but it rings sometimes on an ordinary Tuesday, and it is him.
And when I hear his voice say, "Hello, Mom," I remember that no silence ever has to be the end. If there is a phone in your house that has gone too quiet, let this be the night you break it, not with a demand, with a kindness. That is the only bridge that has ever held any weight at all. Thank you for sitting with me tonight and for letting an old woman tell you the truth. If these words reached something in you, stay with me a while and subscribe so you do not lose the way. And next time, I want to talk with you about the hardest kind of forgiveness there is. Not forgiving your children, but forgiving yourself for the mother or father you could not always be.
Because there is a peace on the other side of that one, too. And I want to walk you all the way to it. Until then, be gentle with yourself and be the first one to reach across the water. The evening has come down full now, and my tea has gone cold, and it is time I said good night. Sleep well, my dear, and